Gentleman from the 35th District, Representative MacEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and we'll wrap this up here. And I think we've gotten a lot of our points across, and appreciate the other side's indulgence here. And you know, anytime a multi-billion-dollar budget north of $50 billion is proposed, there's going to be disagreement with it, certainly. And I recognize the hard work that's gone into it, and I appreciate the fact, though, that some of our ideas have been incorporated into it, and it's a little hard in the minority because we can't do it in the full context of the way the budget is developed. But again, I appreciate where we've gotten to, and also recognize, please, that we still have a lot of disagreement with the overall budget. And you know, I have voted for our budgets in the past, and I didn't last year, and I'm not going to tonight for the same reason I cited a year ago, and it's been alluded to here on the floor tonight. And that is, you know, there are growing signs of a coming recession, whether we like to admit to that or not. I mean, times are good right now. But we're in January, for the first time in a long time, we saw consumer spending starting to flatten out. We've seen a softening of timber prices, which is indicative of what's going on in the building industry. And new home startups, excuse me, have begun to flatten out. Again, we're not suddenly going off a cliff or anything, but we're starting to see a slowdown. We're not having the uprise that we've had for some time. Job growth has flattened. You know, we see some of the recent economic reports that indicate that there is a slowdown that is happening in that market overall. And then we look in the context of the budget and what we can address in future budgets. With the capital budget that'll be passed next week, in the additional bonds that'll be going out, we increase the burden on the operating budget by over $400 million. We can't cut that in the future. There's other indicators that are out there, and this gets a little nerdy for those of us that are in the finance field. But the Fed has turned dovish, which means they're seeing softening. That should be a flag to us. We have an inverted yield curve. If you don't know what that means, just suffice to say, economic history and analysis shows that when you have an inverted yield curve, it's the first sign of a recession coming, typically within 6 to 18 months of that inversion happening. You got Brexit issues. What does that have to do with us? Well, it's putting Europe in a little bit of turmoil. We export a lot of airplanes, among other products. That's going to have an impact on us. And we're starting to see a little bit of corporate profits starting to stall. That certainly has an impact on us. And, you know, just recently we saw what's happened, how quickly things can happen on the international market with what's going on in the aerospace industry, and one flaw suddenly has an impact on sales. I hope that doesn't have a protracted impact on our state, but these things happen. They're beyond our control as a body. And where I'm going with all this is that our ending fund balance, it's not much. 100 million, give or take. And if we're looking at a recession potentially in the next 6 to 18 months, it does not leave us room. And there are things we're not going to be able to cut. And so the cuts that we can make end up being substantially deeper, as has been alluded to here earlier tonight. And it's for those reasons, I'm just, again, raising that caution flag. I hope we still have some good economic growth ahead of us, and that in future budgets, including next year's supplemental, we can increase that ending fund balance so that we can weather this storm that is coming. It's a natural economic cycle. You have booms and you have busts. And no president, no governor can stop that. Those things are going to happen. And we need to be able to put ourselves in a position where we can weather those storms. And, you know, none of us can say when a recession started, but there's a great saying in economics, a recession is kind of like going bald, and I can relate to that. So can you. So can you, Mr. Speaker. You're not sure when it started, but you know when you're there. I hope it hasn't started. I really don't. But we need to be prepared. And so as we go forward, as we go to conference with the other body, let's see what we can do to put ourselves in a better financial shape. But for these reasons tonight, I am voting no, and it is my word of caution as it was a year ago. We have to be ready for what's coming that we cannot control. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.